So not just because we're a safety organization, but to keep safety top of mind, here are a couple of safety tips for taking care of yourself. Take care of your body. Regular exercise reduces the symptoms of stress, depression, and anxiety, especially if your work means you spend a lot of time sitting. And I think a lot of us are doing a lot of that. Have some fun. Once a week, do something you're passionate about. I just actually took out my mandolin from the closet and been trying to play my mandolin again. I haven't touched that thing in 10 years. So I'm trying to get back to intermediate level on there. So having interests that are all consuming and that we can get lost in bring us to increased happiness and creativity. So first up, I'd like to introduce Jérôme Gaudreault. He has a wealth of experiences in associations and in the business sector, but he's also a man of causes. He made his mark as the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce of Lévis. And for him, it is possible to mobilize the community to stop suicide. To do this, he's committed to calling on all stakeholders in the community so that everyone is committed to suicide prevention. So Jérôme will walk us through the resources in Quebec for producers and their families. So I'll stop sharing my screen. I think I need to hand it over to Jérôme.
Merci, Marcel. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are, to everyone. I'm going to start just by trying to share my screen so that everybody can see what I want to present to you. So if I do that, just to make sure that it will work.
It's good.
It's good. Well, I think you're saying not the right. Just wait a second. This is not what I want to show. Let's do it again. Okay, so doesn't want to show the diaporama. This is okay. Well, we'll go like that and make sure that it works. So, hello to everyone. So I just want to, I'll take the next minutes to talk to you about the mental health and suicide prevention resources that are available for and initiatives that are available for people in Quebec. So the agenda of the meeting will be that I will make a short presentation of my organization, which is the Quebec Association for Suicide Prevention. I'll take a few minutes to talk about the mental health situation of the farmers in the province. And the core of the presentation will be the initiative and resources of, that are available for farmers in the province. So I do represent the Association from Quebec, Association Québécoise de Prévention du Suicide. So this association was founded in 1986. We are not representing a specific part of the population. I like to say that we represent the cause. So our members are coming from a variety of places, like community organizations, searchers, citizens, survivors of suicide. We don't have a lot of members. We go around between 175 and 200. We are located in Quebec City, and right now we are employing around 20. The core of our mission is to advocate on suicide prevention. So we do mobilize stakeholders. We try to provide support to communities. We train and educate, so we offer around 20 different training programs that are available for citizens, for social workers, for health professionals, depending on the role that you have to play in suicide prevention. We have a program. We also try to raise awareness with campaigns that happens 2 times a year during Suicide Prevention Week in February and World Suicide Prevention Day. We also work with the elected officials, so they take decision for support of suicide prevention. And we also recently launched suicide.ca, which is a bilingual website that provides information, safe information about suicide prevention, but also direct help with trained professionals that right now are available to support you for 40 hours a week, but next spring we will go 24/7. And we envision a Quebec without suicide. This is pretty ambitious, but we are convinced that if every people in Quebec says no to suicide for themselves or for their communities, well, we strongly believe that we will be able to reduce suicide by a lot. So rapidly, I will talk about the farmers' mental health condition in Quebec City. Right now in Quebec, we have around 41,000 farmers that works in 28,000 farms. The main research that was done around their health was done by Jeanette Lafleur, and our studies told us that around 75% of the farmers live in a permanent state of stress, and 46% of them suffer from psychological distress, which is way higher than the general population. It's the same thing for suicide ideation. And we don't have the specific number about we don't know the specific number of suicide that happen in the farmers community, but we have good reasons to believe that their rates are also higher than the general population. So this is an at-risk population, and we need to have specific action that answers their own needs.
Jérôme, juste pour te dire que tes diapositives avancent pas.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I do have I'm just gonna stop sharing a minute. I don't know. Of course, as it happens always, we try it and it works. Then when you're live, it doesn't work. So just give me a minute. I will relaunch it and it will. It's gonna work. Okay, let's do it again. So now it should work.
On voit ta double écran.
Okay, sorry. So now, is it good?
Ça, c'est la page titre. Yeah, title page. Move forward. Yes.
Okay.
We are good. Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so that's where I was. So yeah, I was saying that the population of farmers is at risk, and that we need specific actions that are directed to their needs. So just, I won't go through all of those things, but this is the main factors of stress for farmers. There's many sources that can go wrong when you work in a farm, and all of those factors may have direct impact of the operations of your farm. And one of the distinctions that we need to do when we compare the farmers and the general population is that the farmers is always working, from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and there's no cut between work and personal life. The farmers lives in their own work environment, so this is a contributing factor to the situation of the farmer. So what about the initiative and resources that are available for them? So there's a few initiatives that had some impact in the farmer's life. The first one is Santé Bien-être des Hommes, which is a strategy from the government that is directed toward the men's mental health situation. So they have a short mention of the needs of the farmers, and with the strategy came some funding, and some of it was used to support an initiative that is directed specifically to the farmers that I will talk about a little bit later. The second one is the Mental Health Action Plan that explain all the resources that are available for the population of Quebec that needs any service that concerns mental health. So it concerns suicide prevention, it concerns all the aspects of mental health, the crisis centers. The plan is coming to an end this year, but it will be renewed next year. The third one is the Gatekeeper program. I will go fast on that because I will explain it a little bit later, but it's a program that is addressed to specifically to the farmers. Excuse me. The fourth one, the Advocacy for National Suicide Prevention Strategy, is a group that we put in place last year, a collaborative that gathered around 30 different organizations that have a concern with mental health. The members were all national organizations. They came from many sectors, and they had one specific message, was to request a suicide prevention strategy for the province of Quebec. We had a strategy in Quebec 20 years ago that had a major impact of the way that services were provided to the population. But that strategy, and it was association to a reduction of suicide, but that strategy came to an end in 2003, and it was never renewed. So we came last year with the suggestion that we needed a new strategy, but with a specific request that if we want to reduce suicide, we need to take care of specific population, including farmers, but also other kinds of work like police officers, like people that work in the health sector, and other First Nations, LGBTQ communities. So if we want to reduce suicide, my opinion is that we need to address specific needs of population. So this is what we're working on right now. The fifth one is the being prepared to act in the event of suicide, which is a post-vention program that is offered to different communities. It provides all sorts of position to act before, during, and after a suicide. What should I do in my community, in my organization, if a suicide arrives? So this is a program. And the Farmers Union in Quebec asks their regional committees to take this program and apply it in their own regions and adapt it to their reality. And the last one is, this is a poster coming from the National Suicide Prevention Week that happens in the first week of February each year. We were at our 30th edition this year. And we take, during that week, we propose a message, we take the place, we go in the media, we do a lot of awareness and sensibilization inside the communities. And the Farmers Union, is really involved in the promotion of that week. So this is another initiative to raise awareness among population. I want to talk about a specific program, which is the Gatekeeper program. That program has been available in the province for the last 15 years. The main object of this program is to identify the person that is vulnerable to suicide, encourage a request for help, and then accompany the person that is vulnerable, accompany that person to the help resources. So it's been a really successful program. Around 2,000 persons a year follow that program. And 5 years ago, the UPA came to us and said, well, we like that program, and we would like to do a version that is dedicated to our specific situation. So we worked with them for a year. We took the program and addressed the content of this program to make sure that it resounds in the reality of the farmers. So it's destined to farmers involved in association and communities, professionals in the agricultural sectors like veterinarians, for example, also volunteers that are involved with farmers. We did it in partnership with the UPA, And since 2016, we estimate that around 2,000 persons followed that program. And there's 40 trainers that are available in all the regions of the province. There's other resources. I will go fast on that. We have suicide prevention centers that are specifically dedicated to prevent suicide in the population. There's 30 of them in the province. So they answer the helplines. They do some intervention. They do some postvention. And some of them, especially those in remote areas, did created activities that are dedicated to farmers. So they go in gatherings, expose, and try to meet the population of that sectors to propose their services and raise awareness. There's also some crisis centers and resting houses that are available to all the population that experience a crisis. And they can intervene into the communities, but people that live the crisis can also go there to rest over there for a couple of days, and then have professional support to go through their crisis. There's also Au Cœur des Familles Agricoles and the Écoute Agricole des Laurentides. They're both community organizations. They offer first-line psychosocial services that promote the improvement of the well-being of farm families in Quebec. They also have a proactive approach. They go directly in living environments, so they don't wait for the request coming to them, but they also will go into the farms to meet the farmers. So they have a few services like phone lines, the Travailleurs de Rang, which I will explain, and also a resting house. So what are the Travailleurs de Rang, which I translated as road worker? This is not, I don't think it's a good translation, because those are the people that works on the road, but they are social workers that go, they go in the rural roads and remote areas to meet the farmers. So they have training and knowledge and experience of farming. And a few of them also did work into farms. So they know about the reality of the farmers. And their role is to detect and support the farmers and their families. They intervene on location. They will go into at the houses, and they will meet the farmers, and they're gonna ask us if they can talk with them. And if the farmers is not available because he has a chore to do, or he has to milk the cows, but the social worker will go do the chores with the person. And during the time they do it, they will talk about the situation and how things are going on. So, and if they realize that something's not going on, they will do the liaison with the appropriate help resources, and they will provide support for the duration of the problematic. And they will also be present in different agricultural activities to promote their services and also raise awareness. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the Maison Agfa, which is a resting house. And I want to acknowledge the presence of Philippe Roy, that is in the audience, that also work, and where I took I took the information that I'm about to present to you. So here's a picture of the house. It's the first resting house dedicated to farmers in Canada. So it's a resting place for farmers. The main objective is to break isolation. They provide support in finding solutions to problem and try to find a balance between different aspects of life. The use of that house is free. It's located in the Saint-Hyacinthe, which is a small town located close to Montreal. It's a discreet place. There's four bedrooms, so a few persons can go there at the same time. it's a serene and safe environment where the priority is to focus on resourcing and thinking about ourselves. The time is, when you're there, the time is divided between meetings with social workers, rest and leisure. They offer all the amenities. There's even a pool, and people tend to stay over there between 2 and 4 days. But after the time that they spend there, they will profit from follow-up with specialized resources which are offered after the stay. So this is another good example of all the initiative, and I can say innovation, that are put into places to the benefit of the farmers in the province of
Quebec. Merci. Thank you very much, Jérôme. Si j'ai bien compris, le fermier aura quelqu'un qui s'occupe du travail à la ferme pendant qu'ils sont dans la maison de répit, right? If I understand correctly, the farmer will actually have somebody taking over his chores and stuff while him and his family are in the respite house. So quite innovative, I think, and quite interesting. So thank you very much, Jérôme, and I'm sure there are questions for you as to how much financial support and a whole bunch of stuff what happens in Quebec. But I'd like to move on to Deborah, and I think I have her picture here. I can just share my screen, so you'll see her live soon. But so Deborah, I guess, is a dairy farmer. Got to give it to you, Deb. I never wanted to be a dairy farmer. Also a registered physiotherapist and the owner of Cultivate Counselling Systems. She's been involved with the University of Guelph in the No Literacy program and the LNA Farmer Wellness program, as well as maintaining her own private practice in rural Ontario. So it's given Deborah a broad insight on issues and supports that are available in the agricultural community. And Deborah continues to focus on where we need to aim our efforts and how we can work together to increase the network. So Deborah will present some of the efforts in Ontario. So welcome, Deborah.
Thank you very much for having me. Do you have my presentation to give me privileges? How if not, that's fine. I can talk.
Do that, but I think you
that's okay.
Have privileges.
So just to clarify, I am a dairy farmer, but I'm a registered psychotherapist, not a physiotherapist. So I'm just a licensed.
Sorry, that's my dyslexia.
Okay. That's okay. Just to kind of confirm, I'm a licensed therapist. So I've been registered for several years now, and I come from the public system. So I have about 14 years in my background. And I have recently, I don't know where my thing is, where my presentation is. So I have been privately practicing for 3 or 4 years now, and actually got into it specifically because of farming. So I actually wanted to specifically focus on farmers and their families and be able to provide services that are tailored to them. Unfortunately, I do not have my presentation at the moment. I'm not sure where it is. So I can just kind of go off of what Jérôme was talking about, because a lot of it was kind of doubled or overlapped. So what he was talking about as far as where the struggles are right now and why farmers are struggling at more of a higher rate than, say, the non-ag people, has to do with what he was presenting. So everything that you kind of saw on the slides as far as, you know, the higher rates, especially with the weather, uncontrollable events, things that like that are happening. And right now, what I'm focusing on is the mental health aspect. So wanting to be able to tailor provisions and services. So one of the things is helping people understand what even mental health is. A lot of times when people hear mental health, they automatically assume that it's mental illness. So being able to provide that awareness piece and destigmatize all the kind of components that go along with it. So really focusing on mental health and how it's really looking at being able to work and being able to work productively. So, you know, you're able to kind of take things in stride. You're able to focus on day-to-day activities. You don't really have a whole lot that's kind of putting you down and sort of stopping you from doing all of these different things. And when we look at mental health problems, we look at what's kind of getting involved, right? So sort of the thinking process. So your thoughts kind of start to overwhelm you. A lot of times the emotional roller coaster. So people are starting to kind of feel like this. People are starting to feel down on a regular basis. And when those emotions start to go down, we really look at the behavior components of it. So people really start to reflect that and not are able to work productively. They're not able to take things in stride. And especially with farmers, because there's so much going on at once, like Marcel was saying, Jérôme was saying, there's so many things happening that a lot of times a farmer has 85 things on their brain. So to add things and to continuously add things, they're at a constant stress level. They have an inherent amount of stress as it is. So continuously putting these uncontrollable events starts to cause a lot of more problems. So one of the things that I wanted to do when I started Cultivate Counseling Services, which is just a private practice that I have here in the Napanee area, which is the Lennox and Addington area, was to be able to provide specific services aimed at farmers and their families. So I had approached the LNA, so the Lennox and Addington Federation of Agriculture, and with their support, we were able to launch the Farmer Wellness Program in our area. And that was designed specifically for OFA members. So like the road workers that Jérôme was talking about, which I had no idea existed in Quebec, so that was my ignorance, but it's more mimicked off of the PEI, the Farm Assistance Program. So same type of thing where we have the support services for farmers. So OFA members are able to access the program at four sessions at no cost, and the service provider will go on site. So it meets the unique farmers' needs. So be able to go on site, you know, they can accommodate their schedule. So they're able to go to the farm, they're able to go to their house, they can do by phone, they can do in office, whatever makes the farmer and their family member more comfortable or most comfortable. So being able to kind of offer that, and it really doesn't have to be complete therapy. It could be just a counseling service or just really that psychoeducational piece. So just providing the support, providing the education, explaining, you know, what mental health is, helping normalize what they're kind of going through. Because a lot of times, especially with farmers, because they've grown up with this sort of knowledge of, you know, work ethic of getting up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning here, for instance, you know, it's constantly go, 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 go. There's not a whole lot of time, and there wasn't a whole lot, especially back in the day, talked about with mental health. So it was a lot of just sweep it under the rug, just push through, pull your bootstraps up, you can do all of this. And it didn't allow for that conversation to happen. And it didn't allow for that sort of knowledge to expand or even be learned. So a lot of times when I'm having conversations with farmers, it's to do with that. It has to do with, well, this is how I'm feeling. And then we start talking about it and it's like, well, I've never spoken about that before. Well, because there was never an opportunity. So it's not right, it's not wrong. It was no opportunity to be able to do that. So with the Farmer Wellness Program, it's being able to expand on that and be able to connect with somebody. So the service provider that does it, for me, instance, so I have the ag background. So anybody who's doing it, and right now we have 4 counties that have launched it thus far in a year after the pilot program launched last year. And there's still a couple in talks right now that are looking to expand it in January. So the service provider is a licensed therapist. So they're a psychotherapist or a social worker, but they're licensed by a governing body. And they also have ag experience. So whether they grew up on a farm, they're farming now, they have that ag experience so that people don't have to go through the process of talking. So the biggest thing that I hear from people as soon as somebody gets connected with me is that they're so thankful that they don't have to talk about what farming is or what the concepts are, because that's the biggest piece. So people don't understand. And again, if you've never been in farming, how are you going to understand, you know, what it's like during peak season, right? What planting's like, hay season's like, harvesting is like, or how weather can impact it, or anything like that that kind of involves. So we get to just sort of have that at bay, and are able to understand everything that, the kind of component with the ag piece that's going on. So right now with the resources in Ontario, we're still working towards getting all of this tailored specific resources available for the ag community. There still is a variety of resources that are available. So looking at your hotlines, your helplines, the suicide prevention line, a lot of the things that I know Adele will be speaking about too, especially with nationwide, they're all available. Right now, where we're lacking is specific tailored services, especially for the ag community. So being able to work with that with the farmer wellness program is one. That's a service program. That's a boots on the ground counseling. They're able to access that. There's also the In the Know program. And In the Know right now is currently expanding, there's a facilitator package that's being completed, so that hopefully it's going to be launched in the next couple of months, where people that have the ag background are able to access the workshop. So it's a mental health literacy program. It's an evidence-based mental health literacy program. And what that means is when it was piloted in 2018, it was tested amongst the groups. So it did show that there was an improvement and an increase in awareness and that foundation of that information, so that people did learn about mental health. And that's what the stakeholders were looking for. So when the University of Guelph, Andrea and Brianna, were looking, and as well the stakeholders were looking to complete this, that was the biggest component, was making sure that it was ag specific. So right now the workshop can be learned, so you can actually access it, but right now with everything they're looking to expand it in January. So you get a 4-hour workshop that's tailored to all the different components of mental health, but also with that ag experience. So looking to do with the examples, the specifics of the agriculture background, and the person that's going to be delivering it will also have that as well. So to be able to tailor it specifically to the provisions of what they're looking for, so with the farmers and their families. So currently that's what's happening in Ontario as far as the services for the specific farming population. And again, yes, that's kind of where I'm going with that, because I still don't have my presentation. So as far as that goes, that's what we're looking at right now for the provisions and sort of the services and the resources that are available in this area. So that's it.
Well, thank you, Deb. See what kind of questions come up on the side, and actually we probably could pull up your presentation and post it for you and I think we can probably add that as part of the resources when we do our summary and stuff, if you're correct with that. So good. So thank you very much. So I will move on now to Adele. Adele is the executive director of the Do More Ag Foundation. She joined the team in May of 2019 and focused on continuing the growth and expansion of the foundation across Canada. So Adele is a certified life, I better read this right so I don't make a mistake like I did last time with Deb, a certified life and business coach, and brings over 20 years experience in the health and wellness sector. And Adele lives on a ranch in Saskatchewan, where she also runs an equine boarding stable and provides horse health and nutrition courses. So very, very diversified and well-rounded. So Adele will share some of her services that are offered at the national level. Welcome, Adele. Mic is yours, and the video.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Yeah, I am, I guess, a self-proclaimed jack of all trades and master of none, but one area that I do spend a lot of my time in, and for the last 20 years is in mental health. Was really excited to join Do More Ag in May of last year because it really married my agricultural lifestyle, living on the ranch and running equine business and things like that with the mental health component that I had been doing in my corporate career. So with Do More, we have been we're coming into our 3rd anniversary. It'll be in January. We'll be celebrating that. And we have been running and trying to keep up to the snowball that has taken off, that is mental health and agriculture. We are very proud to be in the West, pretty much a household name when it comes to mental health. And then we are working really hard. We've got some great connections and visibility in Atlantic, and then are trying to expand a lot in that Eastern area as well. So we're trying to keep up with the demand and work with a lot of the other organizations that are creating content and visibility and awareness in this space. So as a national charity, we love to collaborate, work together with people. There's a lot of different initiatives going around, and so we're very excited about that and hope to do a lot more collaboration as organizations are offering like in kind programs and things like that. So some of the things that we've been up to and offer, again, it is all on that national scope and will continue to grow in that way. Probably one of the most things that we are known for is what is called our community fund. So that is where we take absolutely free mental health training every year across Canada to rural communities. And it's totally cost-free, and it is funded by Bell Canada, provincial organizations, local organizations, and then our trailblazer partner, Farm Credit Canada. So how the community fund works to get boots on the ground, educate producers in their own community to be able to support each other at a, whether it's an agribusiness level or a family level, to give them better coping responsibilities in terms of supporting each other and with recognizing mental health and mental illness in one's own self. So how it works is that we rely on community leaders. We believe in collaborating with everybody that we can, and we believe the success of the community fund. We're going into our third year right now, where we receive hundreds of applications every year. Obviously, we can't service that many, but we have been able to double our applications served year over year. And going into year 3, we hope to do that again. But why our program is so successful is because we do partner with that community leader. So someone in that rural space who stands up and does the inviting, gathering at that local level, creating kind of a camaraderie. So it's not us coming in and saying, you know, we are giving this information. It's somebody at the community level who has community ties that's coming forward and saying, hey, we've identified that our community needs this. We're going to head this up, and then they work with Do More Ag and the facilitators to provide the education. So there's 2 kinds of education that we offer. We do offer mental health first aid, but one of the things that was received in the feedback from our pilot year was that it wasn't specific enough to agriculture. It's fantastic information, but we're here to listen to the voice of the producer, and what they were asking for was agriculture specific programming. So we spent the better part of a year developing what is called Talk, Ask, Listen, which is a half-day workshop that is specialized to the unique factors of mental health in agriculture. We have been running that program now inside the community fund and with other organizations with external funding for over a year now, and to over 800 individual producers we have reached so far, and the feedback's been amazing. The need for agriculture-specific programming was further confirmed by FMC's report earlier this year that they released in May that said producers are absolutely more likely to partake in mental health education when it is tailored to agriculture. So we're definitely seeing that and are excited to be offering this again for the 2nd year through our community funds. So one of the things that if you're looking for your community to be a recipient of this training is to sign up for our email list, and applications have actually just closed, and we are right in the middle of launching and securing locations for 2021, but they will open again in 2022 in the fall. So our email and our social media is the first place to see that. Let's see, then one of the things that we have also done differently with Talk, Ask, Listen is we have also developed an agriculture literacy course. So that was also just in the works this summer, and we are just putting the final touches on it now. So we currently have a list across Canada of agriculture, lived ag experienced mental health professionals. It's a mouthful, but it's so necessary for Canadian producers, and it's what they want and who they want to hear from is a mental health professional who understands agriculture. So we have spent about a year recruiting such counselors, psychologists, psychotherapists, and the like who have lived ag experience, and have a network of them that are trained in our Talk, Ask, Listen workshop. So our half-day workshop is only delivered by people who have agriculture experience. But in order to continue to feel the demand and look forward into the future, we knew we had to create more to help the general population and mental health professionals with generic experience and maybe not lived ag experience understand life on the farm or the ranch. So we will be launching the program officially in 2021. We're super excited. We think it's going to fill another gap in the industry. So you can also keep track on our email list for when that type of information is announced and available. Let's see. So in addition to that, our resources page is something that we work diligently on updating. So all of the programming, as we become familiar with it, we put up on our website under our resources tab. So it began with information like acute resource lines, suicide hotlines, and those are all still up there. But producers, who maybe aren't in that emergent state, we want to connect them when they're ready with help as well. So we kind of see ourselves being, working with everybody across the nation. That's why we think collaboration is so important, to reduce the amount of clicks a producer has to go to find help, or demystifying what number to call. So as More continues to be that household name and the voice of the producer across Canada, to collaborate with other organizations and individuals offering ag-specific programming. And so now what we have is continually added to that resources list online, and it now does include counselors who have agriculture experience. As we launch our program and have other mental health professionals come on board to take the ag literacy training, they are going to be able to be listed on the website. So a producer needing, whether it's crisis resource or, maybe just a couple of sessions going through a tough time, are going to be able to go to Do More, click resources, select their province, and then an applicable practitioner or resource that they may feel resonates with them. And they also have that comfort, when Deb talked about it a little bit, when they have to pick up the phone and explain why ag is so unique and why the latest snowstorm or weather flood has impacted them so deeply, the person answering the phone off, if you click on them from Do More's website, is going to have that agriculture literacy to be able to speak to and relate to the producer themselves. So we're really proud and feel like we haven't yet done enough. But what we're seeing more of is other organizations and at the provincial levels, especially, and things like that, doing amazing things in this space. So we want to encourage them to reach out to us so we can work together. I think that we believe we can get further faster working united and for the benefit of the producer. So welcome those emails and those conversations to see how we can further the supply chain for producers to be able to have these appropriate mental health resources, is our most important focus point. So I know I didn't take 20 minutes, but that is kind of what we are up to. And I don't want to reiterate some of the great local things that our other speakers spoke to already, but happy to answer questions, or you can find us also off the website, and hello@domore.ag is our email as well, if you want any other information on kind of what we're up to at that national level.
Thank you very much, Adele. Just for your knowledge, and maybe some of the group know this, about when I first started in my job, was it 2004, 2005? We actually tried with Farm Management Council to to regroup a lot of the existing groups that were out there that were supporting mental health services to farmers. And at that time, the consensus was that we really needed some kind of an umbrella group to try and get everybody aware and to work together. And it never really took off or happened. I don't know if the timing wasn't right or what, but I'm really proud of the way Do More Ag has managed to fulfill that role. And I think moving forward, everyone's better off with you there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of questions. The first one that we had, I guess, is for Jérôme. And it was a question about the gatekeeper, the Programme Sentinelle, and they were asking if it was ever evaluated.
The main gatekeeper program was evaluated by the National Institute for Public Health in Quebec a couple of years ago. And the result was that the people that followed that program felt more qualified to go towards somebody that seems to be vulnerable to suicide. So they felt that they felt good to address the situation, talk about what they were noticing, and be able to ask the question, which is something not easy to do, how is it going so bad that you're thinking about suicide? So the people, one of the conclusion of the study is that the people felt more qualified. The opposite, though, is that one of the result, though, is that the searchers were not able to determine if gatekeepers were effectively able to prevent suicide. So is there less suicides now today than there was before because we have many thousands of people that are trained being a gatekeeper? So, and it's really difficult to have an answer to that question. What we know about suicide prevention is that you won't do one thing that will have a major impact. You need to do many actions that together will have a lasting impact and will be able to help to reduce suicide. So there's not one solution that is important. About the version of the program that's for the farmers, no, it was not evaluated. That would need some a bit of funding. And if somebody would like to help us to do the evaluation, we would be more than glad to go along with it.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for Deb. I guess somebody wanted to know, I guess from Safe Communities, if the facilitator workshops are limited to residents of Ontario.
So currently, they're not limited. They're being presented right now in Ontario. The hope and the goal and what we're working on right now is to expand that across Canada. So currently we're working with, I don't know if I can say this, so maybe somebody else that's on here that knows, because I just don't want to give away too much information if I'm not supposed to be giving that information away, unfortunately. I do know that it's in the works and that it's going to be expanded. That's the goal, and that's what we're working towards. I've been working with a couple of people right now to get that implemented in the next few months. So as it stands, it's been piloted and it's been delivered in Ontario, and we are planning to deliver it nationwide if people want.
Yeah. A question from Megan Kenzel from FCC. So to all the presenters, that's all three of you, what would you say is the current immediate need / gap that needs to be filled at the moment, and what does the support look like to fill that? It's a pretty comprehensive question. Who wants to go first? I'll pick on Adelle because she's hiding.
Sure, no problem. I was gonna turn on anyway, but we at the foundation believe that it is a one number national free agriculture specific crisis resource line. It is something we in the background are actively working on, and believe that that is the major gap, as well as the major ask from producers. Many producers do interprovincial farming. There is not agriculture-specific crisis resource lines in every province across Canada. So we wholeheartedly believe that and what we are working towards is that as a solution actively.
Jérôme or Deb? Well, I don't have a specific answer because I'm not involved day to day in that field. I felt that there was a need for more resources available to support directly the farmers. And I think we're in a condition, we're putting in place as a condition to be able to achieve that right now. Well, for Quebec at the most. So that would be my first impression, being able to have support resources available for the farmers.
Deb?
So what I can say is, coming from the public system to the private system, that's why I did it, because there are a lack of resources that are tailored for the ag community. We don't actually have specifics. Like, there's a couple of different things, but nothing that's kind of solid or foundation. So coming into it and looking at the farmer wellness program and in the know, and that's what we're working on right now, is to kind of solidify these programs to fill that gap. And just to go back to the first question, when I was saying that I didn't know, I got messages, so I can say it. So as it stands, so right now with the In the Know program, so University of Guelph has partnered with the Canadian Mental Health Association. So right now, that's who we're working together to be able to expand the In the Know. And I have been in talks with Manitoba with, oh, Taya, you're gonna have to help me out. I can't think of the name. So speaking with Taya Green and being able to kind of roll it out in Manitoba, hopefully in January. That's with the Keystone. Who is it?
Keystone Agricultural Producers.
Thank you, Keystone Agricultural Producers. So we are expanding it, so that's what's happening.
That's great, great news. Question from Suzanne Fournier, and it's I think mostly for Adelle about, I guess, are you looking at expanding it to farmers that are French, Francophone, so Francophone farmers in New Brunswick, Francophone farmers in Ontario? Is that one of the things you're looking at developing?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for it. Absolutely. Our basic website format is available in French translation, as well as through the Community Fund. French-speaking communities, we are able to offer mental health first aid in French. And we are actively working on developing Talk, Ask, Listen, as well as translating our weekly blogs and things like that too. So stay tuned. We've just expanded our team here at Do More about 11 days ago. So we have now more capacity to do these important things. So yes.
Okay. Question, I guess I had was in urban areas, there seems to be some support for the LGBTQ2+. I think I got it all. Does that exist in rural Canada? Any of you?
Yeah, there's a website that exists in Quebec, which is called fiertéagricole.org, which is an association of farmers that are from the LGBTQ community. So they gather around, do some activities. They have a website, they have a phone number that you can call if you're if you are experiencing difficulty with your sexual orientation. So yeah, there's a resources existing. I don't know if it's in English though.
Adele, Deb?
We're seeing a little bit of attention in the area, but not any applicable resources. But there's been some great conversations going forward in terms of news articles and some podcasts and things like that done by some of our founders, Leslie Kelly and her What the Farm podcast as well. So I see that conversation starting out here.
A question for all of you. I guess, how do you think the pandemic has actually affected the farmers' mental well-being? And are you seeing more farmers reaching out, I guess, during this time?
From our perspective, we are hearing two very different sides of the spectrum. It really depends who you chat with and the nature of their industry. Some producers we spoke with during planting and harvest, they had family members at home that were not working in the city or home from university because classes went virtual and things like that. So some people actually said that it's been a benefit. Producers by nature are used to being isolated. So the fact that we needed to stay at home was something that wasn't all that different for them. So that type of producer, that's the story that we heard from them in that way. However, on the flip side of it, especially in the horticulture industry and things like that rely on foreign workers, large agribusiness that relies on foreign workers to come in, had a treacherous time through COVID. So it really does depend on who you asked. And those were the two various sides of the spectrum that we heard personally.
Jérôme?
Yeah, I would concur with Adele. It's similar in Quebec. A few organizations didn't notice any difference, but others did. Seeing more requests for help, for question, than there was before. There's a new stress factors. I'm going to give you a concrete example. We had in my region where I live there's been one eclosion of COVID in a slaughterhouse. So they were able to not close it because of all the impact it would have to the producers that, sell their livestock to them. Because, if they're not able to if they close, the producer won't be able to sell them anymore. So they will have to do something with them, and it could mean kill them at the farm. So that was a huge stress factor that was around that. The agricultural ministry in Quebec did reach out to us. They were really, when the pandemic started in spring, they were really worried about the mental health of the producers. So they called us to train their telephonists. So the people, they decided to call all the farmers in Quebec. They put a lot of teams in all the regions to reach out to the farmers to see how things were going and how the people felt, and to be able to detect distress. And we did a little bit of training to all those callers to make sure that they're able to spot suicidal distress among them. So this is some kind of initiative to be able to see what's the impact and be able to provide support rapidly to those who need it.
Okay, Deb. What's your experience, Deb? Or can you talk about it?
Well, no, I can talk about it, but it's the same as Jérôme and Adele. Farmers I haven't really heard too much about the COVID in the sense of it's impacted them because farmers are isolated and because they're used to it. I actually know of a couple of farmers that didn't know the places had shut down for a couple of weeks when it was happening, just because they're so involved in the rural life. The impact comes from the industry providers and the service providers because of all the different things that kind of come into play. So like for us on the farm, when we had to get milk pickup, there was a whole system that had to be put in place. And then when the breeders come, there's a whole system that's got to be put in place. So that was probably the biggest impact, because it does affect you when you see the person that repeatedly coming on the farm and now they can't even come near you. And then you have to have, all these protocols in place in order for you to have milk pickup. So there was things like that were happening, and that's what caused a lot of problems. But as far as the shutting things down, it actually did benefit a lot of people, because there were, like Adele was saying, there were people that were home. So it actually made things a little bit easier to have extra hands.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Actually, Crystal in the chat, she talks about a counselor who runs their farm assistance program in PEI. And he's saying that he's not hearing COVID as a problem, but he's receiving more requests for help. So I guess, and maybe that's a combination of events. It could be, you know, just part of the raising the awareness of the importance of mental health. One of the things that came to me is the young farmers and their families are often very stressed and have high debt loads and young children. So, and sometimes, you know, you add to that the stressors of farm transition and family dynamics. I guess, what kind of support systems are for those young families? What kind of support services are out there for them?
Yeah, it's for us, it's preoccupation about what are the programs available. There's a few of them, and the Farmers Union in Quebec worked with the funding organization and specific other specific organization that works with farmers to try to create some kind of directory of all the resources that are available for the families. Because, you know, when they are in need, they so often they don't know where to ask for help. You know, they don't know about what are the organization. Of course, it's changing. It's getting better and better. But this is one of the action that was done here in Quebec to support families.
Mm-hmm. Adele?
Yeah, one of the goals of the community fund is to create capacity at a rural level. So that's one thing that we think is very important, why we're so passionate about providing that training across the rural nation. And what we see come out of it is actually, we had a Quebec training last year, and everybody who participated in the training, they decided to take it on themselves, and they've created, I think it's a Facebook group or whatnot, and they, who were now trained in mental health first aid, they come together as a peer support because they have a different level of training, understanding, and ability to support their loved ones in the community. So we see things like that coming out of the community fund, which we think is so beneficial, because we're not seeing, you know, specific resources for it. But when we look at the research, it's absolutely needed, because in the report that FMC put out in May is that farmers under 40 are the most stressed age demographic in Canada. So it's definitely important. They're going through a lot of changes, and but those are some of the things that we're seeing until that there is a better long-term solution.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Deb?
So kind of just to go off of that as well, looking at, depending on what the struggles are, especially here in Ontario with farming, we have the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, which has a plethora of resources. So, I mean, we have the MSRs, so the field reps that are able to help out with the farmers and really looking at all the different programs that are available to them. Specifically, if we're looking at mental health, then we do look at, you know, what's available right now, specifically with the Farmer Wellness Program and the educational programs that are kind of existing. There's still such a ton of resources. Realistically, though, it's the Ontario Federation of Agriculture that's going to be able to provide that kind of service at this particular point, again, with all the resources on their pages.
Okay. So I was going to say farmers in general are isolated for the most part, most of the year. So I think I would agree with some of the comments that were made. But I guess what I feel is a lot of the networking that happened was at trade shows, farm events, and community gatherings. And those are pretty well all shut down, right? So I guess maybe this is a time for you to give us homework, because there's quite a few of us on the call, is if we were to support the wellness in the farming community, I guess what advice or suggestions would you give us as participants here? And Deb, you're already on my screen, so I'll let you go.
Everybody wants homework. Well, it's kind of looking at it, and it's true. And I mean, that's the one thing that people are striving with, that disconnect of not being able to, you know, have that personal connection with people, not be able to go to the different events and be able to talk face to face, which has caused a lot of concern for people. The biggest thing, though, is kind of looking at what are the interests, what is it that you find you're missing or that you're lacking, and being able to substitute it with something else. Because a lot of times people are looking at you know, what's available and what they've lost and focusing on that grieving component versus looking at what they can kind of substitute it right now with, which does make it difficult because that barrier does kind of come up, right? So people do see that. So it's really kind of looking at expanding that for that person. What is it that you're looking to do? What is it that interests you? So I do know that people are still getting together. A lot of people are doing Zoom meetings. A lot of people are doing lots of, you know, over the computer type of things, and people are starting to get together now at socially distanced areas. I mean, you can still access different things. So really just focusing on what is of interest to you and how you can kind of find those particular resources, which again are like all over. Anywhere you Google, you can find resources. So being able to kind of connect that way and look at, see what is that you want to do.
So Adele, what can we do to help you guys out in being successful?
Yeah, I think in terms of, you know, everything that's going on right now, you know, the support that we've been receiving and the feedback is fantastic. I think, you know, I'd almost like to tag on to your last question, if I may, in terms of, I have just a little bit of a different spin on it too, because everybody deals with things different, but, you know, encouraging people, one of the things we talk about in our workshop is feeling the feel. And we are social creatures by nature, and the gap that we have without being able to see and touch and feel each other in person is a real loss. So I think that it's very important that people take that time to feel that feel. It is literally a period of grief. There are things that we can do to cope through this, and I think some of the things that Deb mentioned are absolutely the exact way to do that, but also looking at it that there is a loss in our life right now that you know, physical touch cannot be replaced from. So, you know, hoping, looking forward to the future. And then in the meantime, it is, you know, our locations for the community fund, we're going to have many of them virtual, which means anybody can log into them. They're going to be announced on December 1st. So helping spread that word when it comes out, attending one of those treatment or one of those workshops in your area, or whether it's virtually from across the nation, so we can help build capacity for dealing with these really tough times.
Mm-hmm. Jérôme,
no, I don't have a lot more to say, except maybe that, you know, just care about the others. This, you know, we're not able to see each other. Just take the phone, just ask how things are going. Just try to break isolation. And if things seems to not going well with someone, well, offer your help and just accompany that person, the help resources. That could be enough just to
Yeah, I'm on Twitter for a bit, and I think the most interesting thing I saw on my feed with the lack of the farm shows was the John Deere X9 combine and how much it cost. And there were tons of jokes about going around about how can a farmer afford to buy one of those combines. And I'm sure at a trade show there would have been a whole group of farmers just looking and commenting and discussing. Connecting, I guess, is probably the better word, right? That's what they'd be doing, is connecting. Just I'm looking for the chats. If you have more questions, put them in the chat. I think we're pretty well running towards the end of our session here. Yeah, there's a comment by Jen Goldman, and she's talking about that farmers don't have the luxury of sick leave. And I guess she was saying that, or she was saying a support group with cohort and peers and a facilitator would allow that networking and connection and sharing of successes and learning in difficult times. So yeah, nice comments. So are there any more questions? I'll open the floor. I'll take a leap of faith here and open the floor. See if there's a bunch of people that want to chime in just live. And so if not, I guess I'll do a shameless plug for our next virtual conference, our final one. And this is how many times have you seen the cute pictures that everyone shares about agriculture, where they're playing in grain, riding in the tractor on the lap of grandpa, or playing around with cattle. So we've invited two guests, Marcia Salzriedel and Sam Goldberg, and they'll talk about our part in spotting the hazard and portraying the industry in a safe positive light. So I welcome you all to join us up next week. I really want to thank the participants for this week's session. Again, the recording will be on our website in the conference registration page, and the summary will be there. And if there are presentations, we'll share those too, Deb. And really want to thank everybody for participating. Look forward to having you next week. And I guess thanking our sponsors, I always forget to thank those, but TC Energy, Ag Canada through the Canadian Agricultural Partnership, and Safe Work Manitoba. Merci à tout le monde qui sont venus et participer dans la session aujourd'hui. Et puis, je vous laisse. Bonne semaine. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Merci beaucoup. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Merci beaucoup.
Thanks, Casa. Thanks, the presenters. That was great.